the search algorithms.
Oh, that reminded me of one thing. That's
I'm done now, by the way.
Completely one-off thing. I think we should 2-index the podcast. Basically, start with number 2 because just as a nod to what's going on in the back.
I think the best thing is to do hexadecimal. So at some point there will be a podcast 1 and a podcast A.
Actually,
at some point there will be a podcast 10, which comes after F.
Yeah. You know what we have to do? We have to 2-index with hexadecimal. One thing I was going to talk about, which was, so I'm on MacBook Pro and updated a little while ago to El Capitan. And I've always used their multiple desktops thing, which is super useful.
I'm sorry, I'm not very well versed in the Apple universe. Is this the beta thing, or is the beta thing only on iOS? I'm not sure.
There was not a beta thing.
Okay,
it's like a full-out version. But when I updated to it, and it might have been an earlier update, they changed how you switch desktops. So that originally, basically, you would do 3-finger swipe up on the trackpad. And I use trackpad. Hate me. When playing video games, too. And nobody believes me.
That's usually something like 13-year-olds do on their old parents' laptop that they got for playing games.
Yeah, I'm a 13-year-old. Yeah, not clear. What you would do is 3-finger swipe up, and then it would show you all of your desktops. And I've always maintained 7 desktops, and each of them have like particular reasons of like I have, for example, all the Discord and Skype stuff are either in desktop 1 or desktop 2, and the central stuff I'm working on is in the center, desktop 4, 5, and 3, things like that. But when you swipe up, you can see all the desktops, so it's really easy to click, oh, I need to go to this one or to another one. They completely changed that. They changed it so when you swipe up, it just says desktop 1, desktop 2, desktop 3. You can't see the other desktops.
Is there still a way to do that? To see all the desktops?
And I was like, wow. That's what I thought. I'm like, if they're going to do something so brash and so terrible, you've got to be able to change it back in system preferences, right?
Right.
No, you cannot. And basically,
so you're saying that you've bought an Apple product and they screwed you over, and now you're locked in for life.
No, what I ended up doing was somebody edited the machine code and put up a repository for it, which maybe that should be something in the show notes for anyone else who has this problem. Like editing, basically, the operating system code, and so it works now. But it's super annoying that you have to do that.
People do registry hacks on Windows all the time, and that doesn't void your warranty. That's like normal. That's how you avoid damaging updates and that kind of stuff nowadays. Because they, let's not talk about Microsoft. It might actually be worse than Apple.
Apple, I feel like they've been getting worse.
No, they haven't. But they've gotten less competition, I guess. But I mean, the same goes for Microsoft. Like, Linux doesn't exist anymore, essentially.
So just pissed off all three Linux users.
But like in actual usage numbers, and it's the same thing. There was a news article yesterday about the market share of iOS and Android, and it's now over 99%. Has been for like a month. Which means that Windows Phone now only has 0.7% of the market and dropping, and like BlackBerry has 0.1% or something.
I thought BlackBerry went
That's a funny story, but no, BlackBerry still exists technically. Before BlackBerry 10, there were already rumors that they were stopping, and there were actually very serious rumors. I've been barging into my friend's house back when he was still selling secondhand phones and saying, "Oh my God, have you heard the news? BlackBerry is closing up shop." And he said, "What? No, they're not." And we looked at the news, and it was like, wasn't actually definitively from BlackBerry, but it was like a couple of investors have dropped out and they basically have no leg to stand on anymore. That's 2009 or something. So it's been going steadily downhill since then. Everybody knows there's no real use for BlackBerries at all since smartphones exist.
Yeah.
I guess they're essentially Android phones now. So whatever.
Let's see, Nokia. I have some friends
really?
who have Nokia
They still
phones.
exist?
Yeah, and they're smartphones. They're not just like the meme Nokia.
Yeah, but
phones.
so is that like the what is it? Is it called Sailfish OS or something that they're running?
What is it?
There's this Nokia phone, this Nokia smartphone. I forgot the name. That was actually really good and had one of the best navigation systems. But it never gained traction, and Nokia went under and got.
But the last time I saw a Nokia phone, I was at an amusement park with some friends, and we go on a ride, and all but one of us leaves our stuff in bags and our phones, outside of the ride. Sure. And this one guy's like, well, I don't want somebody to take my phone, and goes and so takes it on the ride. And then after we get out and he realizes, oh, I don't have my phone. And we go back up and we ask the guy, and he goes, did you find a phone? And I kid you not, the guy like holds up these crushed pieces and he said, I found 2. And those were the 2 parts of his phone. I can send this to you right now. Ready? This guy, he just says, I found 2. I'm like, oh, this is great. And I take a picture. And what you can't see is that the screen on one of them is totally smashed.
Imagine, yeah.
And that's a Nokia phone.
Huh.
Well, maybe 2 Nokia phones, sort of. I think we should go into, if we're going next topic, to hackerspace stuff.
Sure.
Tell me about this.
I guess, teaser, this hasn't made the cut to any of the other podcasts, but I am one of the participants, one of the 90, I think, official participants in a hackerspace in The Hague called Revelation Space, which sounds like a cult.
It totally does.
Like a commune.
It's got revelation in space.
Yeah, I imagine this is like a what they call the Branch Davidians. Like, do you know the story? Like religious zealots in like a utopian, non-technological commune. No, this is a hackerspace. I guess hackerspaces are kind of half anarchist, half left-wing, half, okay, I guess we're at 150% now. Linux-driven, open source, that kind of stuff. The whole shebang with the free hacking society. So for those people that are not familiar with the term hacking, it specifically pertains to modifying stuff. So hacking is not what quote-unquote mainstream media say it is, which is breaking into computer systems. That's not actually the meaning. It's never really been the meaning, though. Hacking means modifying software, hardware, technological stuff, but like they've even broadened it up to stuff like life hacking, meaning modifying your own behaviors in unconventional ways to basically suit yourself. And there's even biohacking. Let me just say, like you should never Google blue waffle. Never Google hacking and then Grindr. Just don't. It's worse than it sounds.
We'll just provide it in the show notes.
I've been very involved in a community called tweakers.net, which is a Dutch computer technology site, I guess. A big forum and a news site on top of that, and some other services. A lot of people talk about all kinds of technology. I did a lot of hardware hacking in my time. Most of my business is based around modding computers to make them more efficient. So I've always been aware of this hackerspace, but a couple of weeks ago I decided let's go there. Let's see how it looks. Maybe there are some nice people there, and sure enough, a couple of people from tweakers.net are there. A couple of people that actually know me. So it was pretty much a perfect fit. I went there, immediately started paying contribution and just said, okay, I'm going to be here for like a couple of years, probably as long as I live here. And it's so awesome. It's like a place. It's a bit like a sorority for nerds.
I was about to say, like, the biggest nerd den.
There are unkempt people, and it's a big mess. It's relatively organized, but like there are LED strips that are pulsating in all different colors of the rainbow all the time, everywhere, like literally everywhere. You cannot look in any direction without looking at least 5 or 6 blinking LED powered widgets, which are completely useless. Like there is a little ticker that somebody made last week that shows between brackets part of headlines from the news. So it's a small 32 by 8 pixel display that just scrolls very slowly headlines across it. There's no reason to do that. There are better screens available, but he just felt like using that particular display and
for
some
fun,
kind of code that
fun.
he made. Yeah,
For
it's
learning.
everything there. Everything is because they can, pretty much. So I do kind of abuse the fact that they have some very nice, very useful equipment like laser cutters. I'm helping build a second laser cutter for them, and quote unquote in return, I'm using their first laser cutter to produce packaging for my own products. So I do sell commercial products, and getting packaging made is very hard because if you go to an actual packaging factory, I guess, you often have to buy 1,000 or 10,000 pieces of a package, or otherwise it's really expensive. And on their laser cutter, I can do it very cheaply and easily. Can do it all myself. So it's a very cool clusterfuck. Lots of intelligent people that are also a little bit anarchistic, I guess, doing whatever they please, but in an interesting way. I hope this was a reasonable, not so short summary of this particular hackerspace.
A way I would summarize is, you ever see in those movies the people who nerdy kids who go into their basement and play Dungeons and Dragons? It's sort of like that, but much bigger basement with lots of other toys.
So this hackerspace is literally in a basement, and last time I was there for an extended period of time, the other guy was literally playing Dungeons and Dragons by proxy on his phone with a custom-built app with his friends all over Europe.
So in short, we should come out with 10-minute versions of the podcast where basically cut out when one of us rambles and the other just summarizes it.
Yeah.
I often ask everybody, what do you do? You know, typically that means what's your job? But what I mean is, what do you do?
I guess I'm kind of a hardware hacker in real life, mostly. The thing that pays most of the rent is research work. My master's is in power electronics, which means I work on everything that converts electrical energy from one form to the other. So, for instance, the power supply that powers any kind of computer, that kind of technology is what I'm interested in and what I do. So currently I'm involved in a European project together with a company called DLR, the German Aerospace Engineering Institute, and I'm developing a water-cooled high-efficiency power supply for them. So that's the actual day job I do. Besides that, I build sensor equipment, power sensing equipment. So I've got small USB power sensors and large AC mains power measurement devices, all that kind of stuff. I do metrology in general. Apparently I do soil moisture measurements now too. That's my latest project. That's just a one-off because I like gardening. Well, actually, my girlfriend started liking gardening, and now I kind of caught the bug. And we have a house and a garden full of edibles, which might sound a bit weird. Never mind. So that's the actual thing I do. I don't know if I could think of a title for myself. I usually say I'm a design engineer.
If you could make up a title for what you do, what title would you give yourself?
Efficiency measurer. I guess that's the two things I'm most interested in: efficiency and measurements. So let's just put those together. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, and I can make up my own. I'm a free man. I can make up my own job title. What do you do?
What do I do?
Yes,
I walk around sometimes.
Do you consciously beat your heart?
No, I prefer to keep it.
That just happens automatically.
Usually. What do? I do... Well, actually, at the moment, I'm doing some semi-theoretical, not sort of applied research look into cryptography.
Wait a second here. Are you saying there's an application for your mathematics?
I'm not doing mathematics here. I'm doing computer science.
Okay. Let me just be very clear, because chink in your armor. Go ahead.
To be fair, one of the bigger things I did was entirely mathematically based. And that was the thing that came up with decent results. So, whatever. Everything is math when it comes to...
The universe is purely mathematical.
Mm-hmm.
That's from the first podcast that nobody heard.
Not the first podcast. Podcast 1. The first podcast is podcast 2.
Negative first. Sorry.
Yeah. Or the 0th.
Or the 0th?
We could talk about climbing in the Olympics.
Yes.
But nobody knows.
I'd like to.
Right, so...
Is this like another controversy like golf in the Olympics? Or is this actual something?
So I heard golf in the Olympics being controversial. I don't actually know why. The only sport thing I follow is climbing.
I don't follow anything, but I've been watching Golf with Friends episodes of a couple of people on YouTube.
It sounds like the show is called Golf with Friends.
That is literally it's a game that is called Golf with Friends.
Unlike regular golf.
They were talking about golf in the Olympics. The issue with golf in the Olympics is that apparently there are these 4 PGA World Tournaments or something. 4 like big events that actually matter for golf internationally. I don't actually follow golf, but this is what I understand. And the people like the big hitters like Tiger Woods kind of snubbed the Olympics golf because Olympics don't matter for golf, and they were more concerned with doing well in the PGA tours. Currently in the Olympics, none of the top 6 or so people in golf compete. One of the issues with that is that golf, it was already controversial putting it in because it was kind of put in for the corporate sponsors. Golf is the big corporate sport. Apparently it's very big in both the United States and Asia. So they've put this in to probably get better sponsors, and then all of the big hitters don't actually go there, so there is a legitimacy problem, and that's why golf is controversial.
With climbing in the Olympics, it's not in this Olympics. They announced that it will be in Tokyo 2020, and there will be 2 medals, one for men's, one for women's. As soon as the Olympics started doing its thing, I guess, I was thinking about how could they do climbing in the Olympics? And I feel like because climbing is definitely popular enough to be an Olympic sport, and it's a very cool sport. It's a sport that's not boring to watch. In my opinion, it's not all the same like all the other ones. They have different things to do and cool movements.
Climbing is actually a really good sport because it doesn't suffer the issues with fencing, where it's just so obtuse that it's hard to follow for people who are not familiar with it. But there is variety. And there's an easy way to see if somebody's doing well, like how high they're getting and how many faults they're making.
Pretty much. But that's actually my problem with climbing in the Olympics, is judging how well somebody's doing. So the way climbing works in the international stage is there's this organization called IFSC, the International Federation of Sports Climbing, and of sport climbing. And there are three disciplines. There is speed, lead, and bouldering. Speed, there is one route that's set everywhere, and you just gotta sprint up the wall. I think for men's, they can get all the way up this route in under 6 seconds. I don't follow speed. And it's like a full wall, and you they really sprint.
That's incredible.
Up
That's
route.
like walking speed or something.
Yeah,
right?
It's faster than walking speed.
Oh
you should.
God.
I bet people will be very impressed watching a speed competition. But it's the least popular by far.
I can imagine, yeah.
Because it's basically the boring, all the same sport again. It's like sprinting. And I only watched one competition, and that's my experience with speed. Lead is a pretty cool one, which I think will probably be the most popular and easy to follow for people watching climbing. Is they go around the world and they have these huge routes. I'll link a video and it will show you how large these walls are. They're like hundreds of feet up, and they typically, the routes, a move in climbing is just like any change in position that gets you higher on the wall. And the range for these routes are like 40 to 65 moves. And the idea with lead is they have these really hard routes, and the reason it's called lead is because the method is lead climbing, where you go up with the rope and you clip into the wall. And so you're going up, and there's a belayer all the way down who is giving you more slack so that you can clip in with your rope, and making sure that he doesn't give you too much slack so that when you fall, you don't die. Lead is pretty interesting. You have to do several things. There's lots of technique involved. The routes are always different, how they set these routes. And there are lots of cool moves. And you have to take rests in a very smart way. And even the clipping, because it's so hard on these routes, and these are the world's best climbers, in most cases, only one position where you can clip into the next clip. All other positions you would try to clip and you would fall. And so there's a lot that goes into it. Now, here is where the problems start with seeing who's better than who, is because climbing is extremely dependent on style. Climbers, one way you can immediately see this is if you see like a lineup of all the best climbers who go into these World Cups. They all have different body types. You will see people who are 5 feet, well, not like 5'6", not 5 feet, to people who are like 6'2", and there are people who are really burly and really like got huge muscles, and there are people who are lean, and just from that you can tell that there is a range in how people will climb in this sport.
Sure, yeah.
And there are people who are more dynamic and people who are a lot more static, where they'll go through moves and they won't move as fast.
I have a question about lead. So can you make a fault? Can you fall and then continue? Okay, so that's an instant failure.
Yeah, how they judge in World Cups is how high they get. I'll talk about bouldering, which is a very for World Cups is a very different format. And bouldering is the one that I follow the closest.
You do bouldering yourself, right?
Yeah, I do. I'm okay. Depending on where I am, is because it's also really hard to grade these things, which I'll get into. I was about to how difficult these things are. Depending where I am, what I can do is in the range from like V4s to maybe V7s. Like, for example, at my gym, there's no way I could do a V7, but I could do some V6s. There's a grading system, so anybody who does climb will have an idea.
Just think of Trials, the game, and then Ninja and Levels, and everybody understands now.
So the problem that arises that I thought about in Olympics is the people who win, or the people who get the top few spots, you can be like, those are the best. Those at that sport. You can't say that about climbing. In the World Cups, like in lots of World Cups, depending on who enters, there will be a selection of like 10 people there who could win. And it just really depends on how the route is set. So sometimes it will suit some people's styles more than others. There are lots of different types of moves and holds, and it just really depends on how the routes are set that day. And so I feel like when people see this, they'll see a winner that comes out of the climbing Olympics or the top 5. But easily throughout the world, if, say, all the world's best climbers entered in, a World Cup, there could be like 40 people who could win it, who have a chance of winning, which you just don't see in other sports. And this is for both men's and women's. Like, there are times where there are people who tend to dominate the field more. There's more of that this year for people who follow in the women's climbing, for bouldering, and for lead. I don't know for speed because nobody cares about speed. But the problem that arises is that it's so different, and it's so dependent on how the things are set. So I don't know how they're going to decide who the route setters will be, or what the exact format will be. They did say one thing about the format, which already makes me think, oh, this is terrible. The thing they decided on the format is that because there's one medal in each thing, they can't decide on a discipline. So all the athletes will have to do all 3, and they'll figure out a way to weight them. Oh. And I'm like, but they're completely different. There's only one athlete I know who does all 3 of the disciplines, which is Sean McColl, who's pretty good. He's been in the game for a while. Yeah, they're just like bunching them all together.
That just seems
and I'm like
ignorant though of the sport. Like, is the Olympic Committee? As far as I know, the IOC is like a FIFA entity. Is it like just executives in a boardroom thinking of these rules, or are they consulting with the
so they decided I haven't even read up much about this. I just heard this from the commentators when I was watching World Cups, because that's they're fun to watch. You should try watching them. Like I was working with a friend on a software thing or whatever, and a World Cup was starting. I was like, so I'm taking a break to watch this. He didn't climb at all, and he was just watching this bouldering World Cup with me, and he was getting really into it because it really is cool and different to watch. It's a really creative sport, and there are cool things you can do. And one way that's seen is these route setters, top in the world, work super hard to make sure that there's that you can't trick the route, which if you go to a climbing gym, you'll see all the time. Somebody will make this route and they'll be like, yeah, this is like a V8, but then somebody will be like, but if you just jump there, and turns it into a V4, and it's
right.
And just sort of those are known as beta hacks. Route setters work extremely hard to make sure that there aren't any beta hacks, but still all the time
I imagine there are different routes. So how do they... I know nothing about this, so I might be saying something stupid.
Oh, that's fine.
How do you set the route and make sure that people follow it? Do you like color the handles, or what's it like?
So in typical gyms, in sort of either top rope, which is like lead, except the rope is already set so you don't have to clip in. It's the most accessible, and it's what most beginner climbers do. They'll have colored tape under the holds and footholds you can use.
Okay.
In the World Cup, because they're better funded and stuff, there's just, for example, in lead, there is the wall is cleared because the World Cup is coming in. So all the holds you can reach are the holds you can use. But in general, they keep it all one color, so it's even more clear.
Okay.
But I remember one time there was this like women's lead route, and the whole route was blue except for this one gray foothold, and it's like, guys, it was just odd, and it was in the very
one again.
And it was in the very beginning of the route, and they didn't even have to use that, and it was like, what? Why? That's gross. And sometimes what they'll do is they'll make it half and half. So the route is, I don't know, green until this high point, and then it changes to blue.
Okay.
The holds. bouldering, I'll first explain what bouldering is. It's climbing without ropes. And as you can discern from the name, is it comes from people climbed boulders. And they had pads under to make sure, or maybe they didn't. They were just, like, oh, I won't fall. But you should have pads under you. I should probably be a little more safe with bouldering, but it's the least safe of them, except sometimes if you're bad at clipping in lead, you can clip wrong and you can fall, and the clips can come out, and so therefore you fall much farther than expected, and that's
you can snag or something.
Yeah, so either lead or bouldering's the most dangerous. You just gotta be smart about the things. But with bouldering, you climb without ropes, and they're not tall climbs, but in general they make really cool climbs. So there are a few really hard moves and really cool moves that you try to get. So therefore the expectation is going up to a bouldering problem at your level is that you will fall and that you'll try a bunch of times. So that's how bouldering World Cups work. They set 4 problems for both men and women, and you get 4 minutes, well, they say 4+ minutes, to try the route and try to get to the top in its most basic form. And you have a bunch of attempts. And the way it's scored is by tops and then by attempts if they are ties. And then by what's called bonuses, and usually in the middle of the route, if you get this hold, you get the bonus point. And then by attempts that it took you to get to the bonus point. People like to try some of the hardest routes, which are all in nature on real
Why would
boulders.
you go IRL? Can be inside a building all the time. We should follow up on Habitica.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You haven't been using it.
I have.
No. You're supposed to put the tasks you do, and I refuse to believe that you do one thing a day.
I do. That's the issue I've had with Habitica. I have only put in 2 things, actually. One habit and 1 daily task. I won't go into it exactly. Because those are the things I tend to forget or tend to skimp on. And actually, now that you're saying, I am skimping on one of them, and I should go out and do a bike ride to make sure I finish that one, because I have a minimum amount of bike rides a day. I guess people now don't know what my daily is. I will be adding more things as I go, but I've been kind of busy as well. So I have a list. I have actually made a list of things to put into Habitica. I am implementing it, but I've had one big problem.
Yes.
And that is that the app is horrible. I'm sorry to say.
Do you have
I have an Android phone. I have a Motorola Moto G, which I do concur is not the fastest phone and not the best phone in the world. But
they don't have the fastest sync capabilities. Habitica, just in general.
The
app
is just so incredibly slow to load. And yesterday I've had the worst bout yet of slowness, where it started up and it started showing stuff, and I was tapping away, adding to my habits. Then I found out that no, it had not registered any of my taps, and in fact it was still loading to the point that my phone would not turn off when I pressed the button to let it just go into standby. Habitica had actually locked up my entire phone for more than 2 minutes. And I understand that it has this, because it's a game, it's based on a game framework. I think it's Unity, might be something else. So it has to load in all this unnecessary extra fluff on the back end. But come on, people, you can optimize this way. You can actually tell it not to load all the 3D rendering stuff and not the entire framework, which is like 60 megabytes in RAM. You can only load the tiny amount of sprite rendering stuff you need, and that it should be super fast, because like even the other horrible unoptimized app I have, Runkeeper, on my phone, even that is still miles faster than Habitica. So I don't know. It's been very hard for me to motivate myself to spend literally 10 minutes entering a task into the phone. And of course, I can use the site, but then the site was down for me for 2 days. That's why I also had trouble participating in your quests.
I'm going to say one thing that's maybe a radical option. Be the change, Dem. It's all open source. I believe in you.
Nope. Got too many projects already, sorry. But yeah, it's usually my go-to solution though. Like something sucks, I do tend to fix it myself, but no, not with this.
I can understand with that performance why you wouldn't use it so much.
Yeah, it's a real detractor, especially for something that's supposed to send me alerts to do stuff. Because I am going to try to use it as my alert system for non-critical tasks, for like life tasks, biking, brushing my teeth, that stuff. I mean, that's stuff I forget, or I feel like I'm in bed already.
Yeah, I get that.
Okay, I skip brushing my teeth, whatever. No, I still need to enter it, and I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna plus it just to get the points. No, I'm actually gonna drag my sorry ass out of bed and brush my teeth now. So it works. It's effective, but
yeah, I can totally understand with the performance stuff. Like, I wouldn't use it if it was like that for me. Yeah. And that's what it was made for. And the best thing is for those minor things, like basically brushing teeth when you don't want to.
Yeah.
But I did something, and I added this like yesterday, which was a little sketchy. I added a reward. You can add rewards, which I haven't used so much because I'm like, but I use my gold to buy stuff. What?
I need the potions.
Like, pretty much. And but I added a reward, the first reward I added, and it was check off a minor daily, something that I mark as trivial, so it takes less than 5 minutes, and it costs 20 gold, so it's like there's a big trade-off. And I added that specifically to check off a thing, and I felt very sketchy about it, because I'm not very good with regular sleep schedule things, but this was one of the reasons I was so pro Habitica, because it got me to a regular sleep schedule. And the sleep schedule thing to check off was up really and out of bed before 8 a.m.
At first, like I said last time, I thought this is just a trinket. It's useless to get me to motivate anything. And for the 2 things that I regularly check off in there, it works. It works super well. So
yeah.
I'm kind of happy.
And it got me to a regular sleep schedule, which was amazing. But this one day, just this morning, I was on vacation, so I was in the inn, not using Habitica. I was with family for various things. And waking up later, so I turned off my wake-up alarm which is set at 7:40, and so today I woke up naturally at 8:20 because I forgot to reset the alarm, and I was just so, and I had this huge streak, and I'm like, what? I still don't know what to think about this.
Went straight to your sunk cost fallacy. I thought, damn it, my imaginary internet points are going to go away.
I know. I had a 21 streak, and I still do. I'll say one thing. One time, I take this medication every day, and somehow I accidentally deleted the thing. And this is also something that makes me feel a little sketchy about Habitica. Somehow I deleted this daily by accident, and because I did that, I missed the medication, which isn't bad for one day. I noticed the next morning that I was still in the pill box, and I was like, oh, what? And it's not terrible if you miss it once. But before Habitica, like the times I would miss it is I have to take it every day, and I would miss it like once every 5 months.
Just to be clear, the pill is like for 3 weeks, and then 1 week you stay off the pill. Did your doctor not tell you?
Okay. But I accidentally deleted it, and with that one, I just added it back, and so I had a huge streak on that, but now the streak on that is 6, so apparently 6 days ago I missed it. It's very sad.
This is awful. This is like Reddit. It's your comment karma going down. You can't have that.
For Habitica, it's been very effective. Sometimes I think both, I feel a little sketchy about the thing I did this morning. You can become too dependent on it, but if it works, that's not terrible. Sort of like with coffee.
People often say things like getting addicted to certain things.
Oh, like, yeah, if you get addicted to
it. Because addiction is also like just psychology, essentially. It's a big word, or a word with big connotations for people. It's just a psychological trigger that's sort of innate to all people. And if I can hack my life, nice throwback. If I can do a life hack where I abuse my addictive tendencies, which I don't really have, but whatever, to make sure that I do these daily habits well, then use it. Get addicted to Habitica. That's a good thing. Just say it's a good thing, and then it's automatically a good thing. Like heroin. I mean, water. Sure, I inject water. Yeah.
Addicted to water. Yeah. So I'm gonna give you a pass on Habitica. I was actually going to give you a stern warning. I'm like, I see you're not using it to its full potential, but I can understand with the performance issues, and see that for what you're using.
It'll improve.
Yeah, for what you're using it for.
Maybe I should just get a new phone because it's getting kind of old.
Probably.
It's a second generation Moto G. It's from early 2014. There is a much better version available now, and I should probably get it. So might be a good trigger as well. So yeah, I hope the 3 listeners now of this podcast have thoroughly enjoyed our
4.
treatise. 4? Oh my god, we're doubling every time, so it's 8 next time.
No,
you're just brushing it off.
I just caught up with a old friend, and I was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Too many different things, so I'll just tell you about I'm doing this podcast thing." And I said I would send it to him once we actually post stuff.
Yeah, so anyway, hope everybody enjoyed it, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Yep.